I'll just wait for
I
Daisy.
didn't know. Not even recognizing the L on this side.
You can hear us, Shauna?
I can hear Jason, yes, and you're much better. You're much clearer, Meredith.
Could you hear me, Shauna?
Yes, Brian, I can hear you nice and clear.
Okay,
Very clearly as well.
seems like it's working then. Maybe we should
Just the
just,
video is not working.
that's okay. As long as we have sound, let's just go ahead.
Yeah, it's just the video doing the owl feature.
Oh, they can't see us
Well, they can see us through our,
individually, but
Yeah.
not collectively.
yeah.
Everybody remotely okay with not having owl video, just individual video? I think the only thing you'll miss is the vote counts. I'll try and announce the vote counts. Okay. So, assuming still no public comment. We'll go ahead and move on to acknowledgements. Jake,
Nothing at this time.
don't think I have anything either. Noah,
Nothing.
Mark,
Nothing for me, thank you.
Meredith,
I do not have anything tonight.
do know we have 3 written ones. So Asa Adams Library received a donation in the amount of $250 in memory of Vicki Lynch. Thank you. OHS received the Freeman Foundation via the National Consortium for Teaching About Asia and 5 College Center for East Asian Studies program. A set of 2021-22 Freeman Book Award books for our school library. So thank you. These are all less than the size the board approves, but we do acknowledge all contributions. The band program received a donation of $200 from Harbor Freight to purchase a rolling tool / storage box.
We also want to just acknowledge Shauna Goodall, who sought the donation for the second one, applied for those on behalf of Orono High School.
Great. Next up, we have director reports. So Lisa,
Good evening, everybody. Just to start out, I think, we've talked about it before. Things have changed a little bit as far as ed tech positions. I still have 1.5 openings, a half at ASA and 1 at the high school. And those kind of came late in the game with a couple resignations right before school started. We've had a really big influx. I talked about this again last time, of students with significant needs. So we're still looking at, even once we fill those positions, there would possibly be a need for 1 to 2 more positions at ASA, one for the behavior program and the other in the life skills program. Teachers are doing an amazing job providing support and covering for each other, and it's just not sustainable, I think, with current staff. Beyond that, we have Jill Conley, who took on the position of the safety care coordinator. She's done a really amazing job getting staff trained. We now have a trainer in each building, and they do their training in the summer to remain as trainers. But they're there to, we've got 34 folks that got trained right before the beginning of the school year. It leaves us just with a handful during the year and in the spring to recertify or do new trainings, but they're really doing an outstanding job with that. And one thing that is really beneficial with having a trainer in each building is the opportunity for people who have been newly trained to kind of practice things throughout the year, and not just, at the time of a need or perhaps a crisis. So it's been very helpful. They're working very well together. I'm very pleased again that we've got 2 full-time social workers. I receive multiple referrals every week. We're funneling the insurance ones to our Acadia person, and others are going to BJ Bowden, who's our staff person. Just, emotional needs continue to be very high. So it's very nice to have that on board. Holly Gunn took the position of the Special Olympics coordinator, and she's currently working with staff and families to, get the word out, get the paperwork filled, and hopefully be able to register our students for October and November competitions, which will be coming very soon for us. So again, those competitions are going to happen during the school day, so we're not going to need a whole lot of volunteers. We'll send staff already working with students to accompany them and support them at those games. So we're looking forward to getting that off the ground this year. Any questions?
Any questions or comments? No? Thank you very much, Lisa. And Susan.
Good evening. I'll take a few minutes to highlight a couple of the things that I had put in my written report. Our elementary and secondary act funds we use for Title I student support and Title II professional development for staff. And I'd really like to thank Allison Woodward for being on top of so many of the different notices and compliance things that we need to do to make sure that funding keeps coming, especially at the beginning of the school year. And Lynn Gray and I will meet later on this week just to make sure that we're wrapping up and dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's on the funding that we received last year. So we're working on that reporting right now. I was very happy that we had our first curriculum committee meeting on September 8th and had about 17 people join that meeting remotely, had a good conversation around how we will function as a group, and as well as what curriculum means to us and what we feel is important in our curriculum documents that we have here in RSU 26. Really thinking very broadly about our needs, and a document that needs to work well for teachers as well as parents and students. And we'll come up with a format, I think, at our next meeting, as well as a more formal definition of what's going to be included in our curriculum documents, and also take a look at some tools that we can use for reviewing our curriculum for instances of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it's nice to have work moving in that area. Also, speaking of the DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion work, we are getting feedback from parents and students currently. We had a meeting last week that had a good conversation with a focus group of parents, and we've had a few folks fill in our online survey, and a few people reach out directly to committee members to give feedback that way. And quite a bit of my written report talks about the IDI, or Intercultural Development Inventory. The consultants that we're working with, Tanya Sconiers in particular, was really pleased with the feedback or the response rate of our staff. And we're looking forward to hearing more from her and her colleague, Joan Sanders, on October 7th. They're working with that inventory data to really tailor our professional development to where we are as a district, and what our needs are for ourselves as educators and our students as well. And October 7th, in addition to having Tanya and Joan come from Minnesota, Laura Betters, who is right here in our area, will be spending about 2 hours and 45 minutes with staff to talk about some of those social and emotional supports that staff can provide kids that are struggling with anxiety and other issues like Lisa mentioned. So that will be for whole staff as well that day.
Great. Any questions? We'll go ahead and move on to the superintendent report.
A few things to mention tonight in my report. First, just an update on the track shed. We determined, I can't remember where we were last time we met, but since we've last met, we've decided for sure to remove the shed and allocate those materials and equipment elsewhere, because the cost was prohibitive when you add in the rehab cost plus the cost of screening that would be required. And so we've been working with the town, and it's been determined we have to go back to the planning board to update the comprehensive plan to reflect the shed's removal, now that we went in August to, add the three units. And so at that, where Bill's in the process of putting together that request, will probably go before them in October. But we've already begun the transition of moving equipment, or if we haven't, it's happening shortly. I think it's starting. And I informed our abutting neighbors that are right along that that area. Of this, the 3 households that are kind of right there in that immediate area. And so we're moving forward with that plan. The city planner or the town planner indicated it would be up to the planning board if they remove the requirement for screening, which I didn't exactly understand. Because I assume they will approve the removal of the shed since it will meet, requirements, and I can't imagine there would be a cause for us to put in screening.
We're not gonna clean up their mess if there's no building.
Well, I mean, that's kind of, if they had said that they were already, looking at how to mitigate the over removal of trees that was kind of done in error by the contractor for that. So I have to assume maybe he's just not wanting to get ahead of the planning board and making that decision. So we're gonna take this to the planning board and ask for the removal on the site plan and also the removal of that conditional approval that was in place for the shed up screening. So the feedback I've heard from neighbors was positive. They appreciated that decision. So just to update you on that. I was contacted recently by Megan Mazzilla from the town. Megan is the director of town recreation and programs for all ages. And she contacted me to invite our participation in a meeting with their consultant who is helping them gather input on use of town spaces that they're wanting to get some public input for. And so we're going to put together a small team to meet with, they have someone from Haley Ward, the engineering architect company actually that we're working with on some of our projects, but they're working with that individual to gather this feedback and develop a plan for them for these town properties. The properties that they're asking specifically about are the Old Town Garage site on Penobscot Street, the old fire station, which is currently being used by scouting organization, the Keith Anderson Community House, variety of uses currently, and the Birch Street Senior Center. Currently, I think the only specific use we have in any of those spaces for our programming is the Keith Anderson Center. We use that as an evacuation site for the middle school. In the past, we've used it some for other, particularly when the cafeteria was under construction, we used it for a big fall musical production. I don't anticipate that kind of need now that we have the pack. But I was pleased, to have the invitation to be involved in that. And she also said in some of the response that she, as we were going back and forth, trying to figure out how we would provide feedback, that they're also open to hearing feedback about other programmatic wishes or desires that people have, maybe outside of those spaces. So I talked with Brian and asked, Brian to serve on that as a representative of the board with some key staff. And I thought tonight might be a good time for if other board members have feedback or input now, or if you want to think about it, if you have anything that comes to mind, and you want to reach out to either Brian or myself so we can represent that in the conversation. We're going to schedule it probably in the next week and a half or so. And I'm just bringing this up cold. So if do you have any thoughts now, or if you don't, that's fine. And you can let us know if something occurs to you.
I guess there's this isn't a fully formed thought, but some of the stuff we're doing with looking at outdoor spaces for wellness committee work, we had this came up as an idea. If we create some spaces to interface with what they're doing, and there might be some shared interest in that. So
Yeah, I definitely think that's a good need to raise, that we're surrounded by town property and would like to be able to have spaces where we can utilize.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Any other ideas? If you think of anything, again, just reach out to Brian or myself.
I'd love to see more ultimate frisbee.
Recreation
Yeah.
opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for All ages?
Yeah.
Yeah. The final thing is just to report that it's going in some newsletters. Maybe it went out in some newsletters already. I don't recall if I've seen it in newsletters. Kieran Martin has scheduled several upcoming clinics. The flu clinics have been scheduled, and you should be hearing about those probably in the upcoming newsletters from your schools. ASA's clinic is going to be at the end of this month on September 29th, and middle school, high school is going to host a clinic on the 4th of October. And then and that's with the Bangor Public Health. And then with a COVID booster clinic, she again wasn't able to find our Penobscot, PCHC is not able to partner with us right now for that. So Bangor Public Health has agreed to come back on the 29th of October or 28th of October to do a booster clinic for us with the new booster, the bivalent booster with Pfizer they're only able to do age 12 and up though. Because of what they can get their hands on and what, capacity they have right now. So they're doing Pfizer for age 12 through 17, and then Moderna or Pfizer for 18 and above. So you'll hear more about that, but I just want to let you know those are scheduled. And I was really pleased she was able to get the COVID clinic on a Friday. Just because I anticipate there'll be a big demand for that, and it'll help with, if staff absences. People aren't feeling well to have it on a Friday. Those are the three things I wanted to mention in my report. Do you have any questions?
Anything else? Okay, next up, we have the student awards discussion. So again, it is basically the pre-discussion where we are going to talk about how we want to have the discussion. So we have November 1st set aside. The second meeting, and remember the new board meeting, the first meeting in October, the second board meeting in October. We have DEI, so we've kind of left that as the one big topic, but then the next meeting is, I think, November 1st, and we've kind of set that as a big meeting on the student awards. So Meredith and I are already planning that we will have a designated public comment, as we often have, right under the public comment. There'll be a subline item on awards. There will be a presentation from the administration on work that's happened in the last 2 years on awards. I think there's a lot more than most people recognize that has happened since this topic first came up. And then there would be also a presentation of the survey results, and then a board discussion about next steps, which could be, anything from, we think based on the feedback and the work done, we're good, or we think we should continue to work on this. So that would be kind of the board, I'll say decision point. There's not a specific motion in place at the moment. But so the key thing tonight was just to make sure everybody's on board with that process. So let me just stop there. Was that clear to everybody what we're talking about, and good with that process and time frame?
Could you send that? I thought you were gonna send that out to us, a list.
Oh, I should have. I will.
I'm fine with it. I just forgot.
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
I guess I have a couple of questions. So there's information that was gonna be like at the last time this came up about like getting a list of awards and doing the survey results and all that. So would all of that information would be shared for the first time with us at that November 1st meeting? Is that true?
The survey results would be shared at that time. That's kind of that's point B for tonight, is for the board to have an input on the survey, and then we have to run it. So that would be, I don't know, we typically maybe get it a couple days early, but that's the time frame that we give people 2 weeks for the survey. That's the time frame. The list of awards, I don't know, has anything been, do we have a list of
the action items from that last?
Yeah, I think we started that, and I never circulated that. I know that the high school put together a list. It would be easy enough to add the middle school awards to it.
We should be able to circulate that for November 1st. I
Oh,
think.
right, yeah,
Okay.
like by next week, I think that's mostly done.
Okay, and then I guess, is the presentation that's gonna be given gonna have a set of like recommendations from the administration already, or is it more like, here's the data, now give like soliciting direction, or I guess that's.
So my as it stands right now, what I think is important to communicate as we enter into that discussion is, what are we currently doing?
Mhm.
Because there've been some changes made over the past year or so that I'm not sure everyone's aware of, so I want everyone to have the same information as we get started. So that was the idea for sharing information as we started discussion.
So I mean, I guess to directly answer your question, I guess maybe my thought would be we would have a, non-binding board discussion as some feedback of where the board is, and then let the administration take that to make a recommendation from there, which could come back a week or 1 or 2 board meetings later.
So I get, yeah, so the November 1st, the administration won't have already gone down the road of thinking what to do next, is that, because I think that's what I want to.
Well, that's the conversation we're having tonight. What's your preference?
I mean, my
want them to-
preference would be for us to gather all the data and not to be forming action decisions until there's been public input and board input.
Right, so agree. So I think that's the process. We'll get all the data. November 1st, we'll have a board discussion November 1st, and then we'll hand it back, to the administration to chew over everything they've heard from the public and from us and from the survey. And I don't think we've set a date, but we could expect something to come back with a recommendation at some point.
And so I guess to the extent that any of that information can be getting as early as possibly for that November 1st meeting would be helpful for
Yeah,
forming that discussion.
I think the list of rewards is pretty realistic. The survey, I think it's gonna be a matter of days just because of the window. We have to have the survey open.
Even a few days before the weekend.
Ask a clarifying question. This is,
Yeah,
Sam.
go ahead, Sam.
Hi. So with the list, do you, because we have done quite a bit of work at the high school in the last year, and so not knowing how many people know the process and the rubrics and stuff that we utilize and their criteria for each award that we've since hearing some feedback previously, we've made adjustments to, and that's feedback from the community, feedback from students, and feedback from staff. I don't know how well that's known. So do you at this point just want a list, or within that list, do you want some of those changes as well? Because we're also working on a template that outlines those things for each of our awards. We've just started that process.
Well, I mean, I guess for me, I said being completely unfamiliar with most of the awards, like, I guess the status of where things are in terms of what they are, how they're handed out, how they're determined, and sort of anything about the purpose about each award. I mean, just a name of an award won't give me much information, but
Yeah, so a list and any accompanying information to help contextualize it that's,
yeah.
available.
But
I appreciate the
But-
clarification. Thank you.
I guess, were you asking though about like, there's things that are done in the past and you're already making changes to awards? Yeah, so I guess I mean, I think the most important thing are the current.
Right.
but-
I agreed. Okay. Thank you very much.
We'll talk some about the change process. This was first brought up in the middle of COVID, and so I think the administration heard that and has done some things, but it just haven't had a chance to discuss it. So we can recap the change process of the last year and a half on November 1st. So, yeah, I mean, whatever can be pulled together quickly. I don't think we want to, create people off writing whole new documents, but whatever can be pulled together quickly on the current state of things. I think the more you have, the better. That's quickly available is great.
Yeah, I don't mean excessive detail about the award, just like give a sense of them.
So, okay, so everybody clear and good on the process? So the other question is the survey. I guess my first thought is, every survey, I like to have a Likert scale and an open-ended question, and then I like to close the survey with an open-ended question. So to me, one set of questions would be different categories of awards, and I'm just thinking out loud here.
Okay, before we jump, can I just ask
Yeah.
real quick, so at that last meeting, Beth had volunteered to like help develop the survey from her expertise. Did anything ever happen with that, or?
No, that hasn't happened.
I'm sorry, I was typing
So at
too.
the last meeting, this came up in last September, from October or something.
Yeah.
Beth, who was on the board at the time, had volunteered to help craft the survey from her expertise and give input and.
This is the survey that we're now creating.
So I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
did she already?
No, I
Beth
think
hasn't
we
had
did that
it,
work.
but-
so that was-
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry.
So, I mean, I think we should ask about categories of awards. So, for example, we have team sports awards, right? Most teams give out a MVP award, a most improved award, a coach's award, those kinds of awards. So I would probably say team sports at the high school, team sports awards at the middle school. I would say book awards, which is like, for those of you who don't know, that's like subject area, like history, math, social studies. We have those at the high school, we have those at the middle school. We have honor roll. There's typically a recognition, we have those at the high school, we have those at the middle school. We have attendance awards at all three schools. We have,
Do we have attendance? at all three?
maybe not at ACE, maybe not at ASA. You know, Gary?
I'm not familiar with that.
No, okay, maybe just at OMS and OHS.
Yeah, it doesn't sound familiar to me, Brian, from what I've heard so far.
Probably flashing back to my own elementary education, but I never got one, by the way.
That was my next question.
Let's see, other categories of awards we have.
Citizenship, student of the month.
Yeah, we have Student of the Month awards at OHS and OMS. We have citizenship, those are separate from Student of the Month
Yes,
at OHS and OMS.
I think, wait, there are citizenship awards at the middle school assemblies, right, Richard?
That's correct. And the citizenship award I'm thinking of is through the Department of Education. They have criteria for that. So
Okay, I thought they were at middle school assemblies, there were citizenship awards given.
no, we stopped doing that. Yeah,
Okay.
like a couple of years ago now. Yep.
At the high school, we don't do honor roll. Except for at the end of the year. So I don't know if you're thinking it's like quarterly, like, it's not like
But
that.
it's end of year.
There is a public recognition like
Yeah.
an assembly.
Yes, but we don't give, like any awards. We don't recognize it with the students publicly, like with the kids. Just so you know.
Not citizenship, separate from student of the month.
Right.
All right, I'm confused. The honor roll, there is still at the end of the year public
Yeah,
recognition.
yes.
Yes, but the citizenship, there's nothing at the high school
Or middle
Correct.
school.
or middle school.
It's just like a one special award in the year, kind of like a book award thing, but it has, yeah.
Am I missing other categories?
Is there another category, admin, that you can think of that we're missing?
I think scholarship awards, Brian, but I think you said that those are your book awards, right? That you were referring to?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it for the middle school, what you covered there for categories.
okay.
So our-
So I thought,
Our awards committee was wondering if scholarships are separate, but then the book awards, we do those. We also have like a student of the year and an athlete of the year.
at the high school.
Yeah, so it's not really citizenship. It's more like, and there's like this criteria and yeah, and that's been altered a little bit as well over the last year or two. So
Right,
I'll
when you
give
say-
you guys the information.
You say scholarship, that's at the baccalaureate night, recognizing people who've gotten scholarships to college.
Correct.
Right, what
There's a
Richard said,
different
is
committee.
really,
Sorry, what?
Richard's using that word differently. Richard's just calling it basically like a book award.
Book awards, right, so both.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to make sure that the high school, you knew they were separate. They're two different things.
Thank you. Okay, so my thought is each of those categories, each school, we have a Likert scale from 1 to 5, definitely don't continue the award, definitely do continue the award. And an open-ended, do you have thoughts or opinions on this award? Does that make sense?
So this is a survey, who's the survey going to?
Students, parents, staff, pretty much everybody.
And. Okay, and we're just trying to find out whether people want to keep these awards.
Well,
Just take a pulse of what the
yeah,
feeling is for
take a
them.
pulse. You know, I know, I've heard from like 7 people who have very strong opinions that we should get rid of them. But I think there's a lot of people who don't know that the question's even open. I don't know how representative those 7 opinions are. So I think we should ask the community at large that these things are, you know, on the table and we want your opinion about them.
Do we want to ask any other questions beyond just like,
Yes, I was getting there,
okay,
but let's see, I just want to focus on one thing, then we can, yes, I agree, other questions. Everybody okay with a 1 to 5, definitely get rid of, definitely keep, and an open-ended question for each of those categories?
Is that the scale criteria, keep or get rid of, or value, or, you know,
yeah,
this
Well-
is valued, or this is.
That's an important question.
Yeah,
and
Per- Personally, I don't know, I think we should be honest, we're talking about getting rid of them and talk about keep or get rid of.
what we're really boiling it down to.
I mean, if we get a bunch of, I don't value it very much, does that mean I don't care, or?
Yeah.
Or I want to rid, so I think we have to put the rid, get rid of it on the scale. You don't look like you necessarily,
no, I'm just thinking, you know,
I just think
it
it,
is, I mean, I think you can also frame it in a framing section. It just, I don't know, it just seems so harsh to say,
Oh, it's what we're.
keep or get, you know,
Yeah.
keep it or toss it.
it is what we're
I
talking
agree
about.
with
though.
that. I guess, like, I definitely think we should, I mean, if we're gonna survey that, makes sense to ask. I guess I'm wondering too about, like, there is this element of like, what is the impact of this award on you, or like
Right.
the value you're feeling emotional
Those are the next questions, I think we should
as
ask,
a separate.
yeah, not necessarily for every category of award, but what do you see as the benefits of awards, and we can have some check boxes. Right, recognition, motivation, and what do you see as some of the drawbacks?
I guess maybe it's the order of these questions that I'm a little stuck on. It seems like starting out with keep or get rid of before you've helped people process through some thinking about them.
Okay.
And then like
Yep.
that part be the kind of final piece of feedback.
Yeah.
So it just seems like to start out cold with that rather
What,
than,
what comes before could have an incredibly biased impact. right?
well,
Anything
or to
designed
get them
survey,
to, yeah, or
be
to ask
careful about
them,
What you put before.
yeah.
So you're arguing to ask the question first and then ask the motivation second?
No, I'm just saying that we need to be careful as with any survey, because there's ordering bias can easily slip in. So I mean, just
Mhm.
how it's constructed, it would be helpful if it's run by some people who actually know how to construct a survey. It would be good.
So it seems to me there's 2 questions. One are reasons for giving awards, right? There's some motivations about recognizing the district values these behaviors. There's motivating students. I think those are probably, there's you know, facilitating resumes and college applications. I think those are probably the 3 that come to mind. Are there?
Wait, I'm not sure. Those are reasons to have the awards, but are we asking the community whether awards are functional? I feel like we should look to the literature on that, right? Like, we're asking the community whether awards serve this purpose.
But for them as individuals,
Do
what
they?
purpose do they serve? I think is the question that we should ask.
I mean, it's fine to bring literature in too, but I don't see the harm in asking people why they value that.
Asking them why.
Presumably, some people out there value having awards. We should ask them why. They should have a voice, right?
I see, yeah.
So what's the,
So we can have a checkbox for some sort of recognition or expression of the value on those behaviors. Motivation
We need-
and resume, college applications, and then an open-ended.
I think we need to also have in there that either as a separate question or within there that they don't value, don't like. think-
Oh, absolutely. The next question would be
Okay.
reasons that you think awards are problematic.
Okay, so this is not why do you value them, but, yeah, okay. These
Well,
values.
What reason, I think I phrased the question, something like, what reasons do you see for the school district to give out awards to students?
Okay.
Check, open-ended question. Next question would be, what reasons do you see for the school district not to give out awards?
I guess I'm still a little troubled by, I know you want to get through this, but that first language. The reasons that you see for a school district, like, I might see the reasons we've given out, but I don't agree with them, so I think that. That language is a little confusing. Like, you see what I'm saying? So, so I would.
For which of the following reasons do you think the school district should give out awards? Right, so they can check them on if they think there's no justified reasons. Right, on the same language, for which of the following reasons do you think the school district should not give out awards? What would that list look like? Demotivation,
Creating rivalry. Sort of negative, I don't know how you phrase it onward, but the community. Sort of disrupting the community, like. I don't know.
I think it's important to keep it balanced. If we ask three in the one, we should, you can dissect them into
I
lots of
think, yeah,
small.
like negative self-worth kind of.
Right.
Negative
Look, yeah,
personal
affect on
impact.
self-esteem.
Yeah.
Which one would you have now?
So I have demotivating to students, destructive to community dynamics, or negative effect on self-esteem of students.
What'd you say it again? Sorry.
Demotivation or demotivating, destructive effect on community dynamics, negative effect on self-esteem of students. And an open-ended box.
And what were the three at the top? I put motivation, resume building, recognition of achievement. What did you say?
Something like colleges.
Yeah, so I had resumes / college applications. And instead of recognition of achievement, I had expression that the school values these behaviors.
But essentially, it is a recognition of achievement. I mean, that's what we're talking about. here. Do you want to recognize certain achievements or not?
So I mean, we could add one to both categories if we want.
Right now, we have 3 and 3.
3 and 3, yeah. Do you want to add recognition of achievement?
I mean, to me, that's one of the
Doesn't matter.
reasons I
mean,
think.
Reality is,
teachers
we'll
feel-
recognize the achievement, whether we choose to do it here in RSU 26 or not. I'm not quite sure what we're doing, but that's the way the world works, right?
The
So
world
whether
is
we
all-
want to prep kids for reality or something else is really a different question, right? It's not the question we're engaging here, but regardless of what we do here, that's where they're going in the city. The overwhelming majority of instances. You might not like it, but that's true.
Right. I mean, I think there's a legitimate discussion of what age we do that, right? We don't do that for kindergartners. I don't think anybody in this room would have proposed we do it for kindergartners. Personally, I feel pretty strongly by the time they're a senior in high school, they are wherever they're headed, stepping into that world. But I think, I think there's a legitimate discussion.
Just say the world is also sexist. That doesn't mean you have to be sexist and create a sexist institution. I don't find that argument.
Well,
So that was the argument I was making. I'm making where we're preparing them to go out in a certain environment, right? But regardless of what we recognize or don't recognize, when they get done here and go, whether it's in the workforce or into higher education or some other field, that's what they're going to encounter.
So this is, I don't know if we're going, the conversation we want to have later, how is this informing the survey, I guess?
yeah, let's get back to the survey.
So, it seems like that your wording and recognition of achievement are getting at the same thing.
They're certainly overlapping.
Yeah.
We could use one or the other, or we could break it into two, and then we should take one of the ones on the next one and break them into two. I don't have a strong opinion. That's,
Well, and the other thing is, do you think we should add one that just says, like, none of these?
I think you have.
Do you have like that? It could just be none of the above, or
we could have another,
yeah.
I mean, the way the question was phrased, I'm assuming you could check none of them if you think none of
Okay,
these are.
just skip it. Yeah.
skip it, but we could have another, well, we have an open-ended text box,
Yeah.
so I think that covers it.
So can you read what are the ones you're thinking about dividing into?
So expression that the district values these behaviors and recognizing achievement.
But also motivation, resume, college application, and then expression that the school values these behaviors, and then recognizing achievement.
Right.
That's cool. Or I need to see this written. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I started a shared
have
document. I
it?
can
Yeah.
just share it.
Yeah, that would
I'm
be
trying
really
to
helpful.
get it down so that it,
Yeah.
So I didn't say this, but probably first off, we should ask your role, parent, student, or staff member, and we should ask the grades that you're answering this for from K or pre-K to 12.
Do you want? Like if a parent has K and 12, like
We check two boxes.
not just a radio.
We could ask them to fill out the
No,
survey
no,
twice for
I
each
think-
kid, but I don't think that's,
Yeah.
we do that for, different school principals evaluations, but I don't think we need that here. I mean, I certainly predict parents who only have elementary kids are gonna have a different set of views than parents who only have high school kids. But guess we'll see.
Well, I mean, I guess though the question is. Yeah, I mean. What do we do with that though? Because those students will become high school students, so it's gonna affect them. So I guess,
Well,
Yeah,
there's two
I-
interpretations, right? One is that parents that are parents of 15-year-olds are completely different from parents of 5-year-olds in a fundamental way, or parents of 15-year-olds see the world in a different view than parents of 5-year-olds. So
I guess, but the question is, do we want to have in the survey something about age appropriateness, right? Like, distinguishing some, so maybe you're right. But, like, do you think high school, middle school?
I think that's a valid,
So we could have a
Questions,
question about, do you
yeah.
think the number of awards should vary depending on, or should increase?
number
with
and
grade?
type. Yeah.
The number and type of awards should, we could just say vary with grade level, or I think what we're really asking is increase with grade level.
And just give an open-ended opportunity for people,
Yeah,
like a
Maybe,
yes or
yeah.
no with open-ended.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, I think everybody would probably say, yes, they should vary, right? And I think the more questions, like, do you, what do you, it's more open-ended, right? What is the appropriate role at high school versus middle school?
right, so we can have an open-ended box.
But, right, yeah, did you get that doc?
Yes.
Am I supposed to be able to find it?
Is it an email?
It's in your email.
Okay.
So, under should not give awards, we have demotivation, destructive impact on school community. Is that what you said? Destructive impact? Or negative impact?
Yeah, negative's probably better than
I mean, you could-
destructive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
then
mean, you could
negative
also just-
impact on
We
some.
could probably just summarize that with like rivalry, has, would probably summarize that. But yeah, negative marks, that's,
Yeah, you can just do a slash.
yeah. So, okay, so we have 4 and 3.
Right,
So I'm just thinking, I put school affiliation because with one survey with staff and I guess, is it important to you to know if someone is a parent of a younger ASA student than an older or a younger high school student? Whatever.
I think we've lost your audio.
Yeah, I can't hear you either. I was just about to say the same thing. Down. Weird. Try that. Oh, I know. Okay, can you hear us now?
Yes. it comes
The
up.
unplugging and plugging back in.
Yeah. I was at a conference where you had to unplug the owl every hour.
So,
Did you do something when you came over to it?
no,
Okay, because I didn't know if it was the unplugging or something. you just did.
I didn't get it. I had some. that bit. So I guess I just said to add equity as a reason there. So we could put that.
Yep.
I guess I can.
Oh, I guess I didn't.
So you're making the argument that not giving awards would promote equity, is that the argument? Or the belief behind that as a category?
That awards are inequitable in their distribution, so I don't know what the best way to frame that is. Equity.
You know, I would disagree with that premise on its face, but.
Okay.
Yeah, I think equity concerns though is
Yeah.
another like
Yeah.
question to ask. Is that why you think the school should not give awards?
Yeah.
Maybe adding equity concerns
Yeah.
kind of helps. Yeah. It's all good.
I mean, I think that's, that's what, that last discussion about attendance awards, like, for instance. Not everyone can afford to be here every day, so.
So the 4 reasons to not give awards that we're listing here, people can choose from: demotivation, rivalry / negative impact on school community, negative impact on self-esteem, equity concerns, and then an open-ended comment. So Noah wants to put none of the above. Brian, you felt like you just wanted to leave it as you didn't have to.
I feel like if we make them check boxes instead of radio buttons and we word the question correctly, we don't have to. Yeah, they don't have to check anything under one of the questions if they don't want to.
I mean.
We can say which, if any, of the following do you think are reasons the district should not give out awards?
Sure, if any.
Yeah.
And then you have an open-ended comment, so I think that kind of covers the other case as well. So I don't know, we can, I try, I think we're getting to the max. Is there anything else that's important to ask?
Do we want, sorry, the comment, do we want to be like other / comment or something, just in case?
What's that?
Do we want to say like other / comment on that last one, just in case, I mean, I guess people can.
Yeah, I think if it's an open-ended comment, they can tell us other things.
What kind of open-ended question? I put just a placeholder because you said starting with an open-ended
Oh,
question at the top.
no, I didn't think at the top, I meant at the bottom,
Okay,
which I always just ask anything else you want to tell us on this topic.
So you're thinking of for each of those, just having a category. Likert scale for team sports, one Likert category. I guess my question is, are there, subdivisions within those, like there might be some really ones that work really well and others that don't. Do we want to leave room for that kind of? Or a question is like, are there particular awards you think should or shouldn't be kept at some point? I don't know, or just open-ended comment and let them say that if they want to.
I prefer to keep it simple and then have open-ended comments, but I think these are the main types of awards. I don't know how we would break them out any finer. Do we want to ask a question about transparency or how familiar people, how well people feel like they know what the criteria for these awards are? Or is that not important to ask? I kind of feel like we're getting into a long survey, so.
Well, I can tell you what the answer is gonna be there. Staff is gonna say that they know the process very well.
Yeah.
Students are gonna probably be somewhat less. Parents are gonna go ahead and know.
Yeah.
We can ask it, but I can tell you what the results.
May not be a useful question. I think I'd be inclined to just stop here. Anybody else have a key?
At the bottom. Anything else? Yeah, I guess that's good. And it's just like a Google form kind of thing. or-
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. All right. I mean, Meredith and I can file it. I just want to make sure we're not missing something. Everybody good? Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Noah? Okay. All right, so we'll get that survey out in the next week. We'll have the results a few days before the board meeting, and we'll get the list of awards for, whatever the admin can put their hands on within the next week. And then, November 1st will be awards, significant awards discussion. Okay. Next up, fall conference. You guys all have the brochure for the fall conference. The one thing we have to do is we have to elect a delegate to represent our school board to the MSBA school board. I just saw the list of topics today. A lot of it is cleaning up the text of the standing lobbying document, which I didn't see anything that looked particularly controversial. I don't know, the email I got today sounded like there were 5 resolutions that came from districts. Districts can send a resolution to the MSBA district. And those looked a little more controversial, but they didn't actually attach the resolution. So anyway, we don't have a full list of topic discussions. We will have a discussion before this conference. Guess we'll have to be at the second meeting in October about board positions on these topics. But in the meantime, for now, we just have to elect a delegate. I've gone in the past. I'm happy to go again. Anybody else?
Remind me of the date again.
But this, I just learned that the delegate is not during the conference.
How is it moved?
I think it's on a Saturday. Let's see.
Okay,
Say when it is, Saturday, October 22nd.
oh, so it's the Saturday before.
Yeah,
You
Yeah,
still willing to go, Brian?
I'm pulling up my calendar, but I think so. Yes, that works fine. That means it's gonna be on Zoom. That's gonna be terrible. There's so many people who are school board members who still don't know how to do it on Zoom. Anyway. Not encouraging that. Yes,
Would
I'm
anyone else
happy
like
to
be
do that.
considered for that position?
Anybody else?
They're happy doing it.
I would nominate Brian McGill to serve as the RSU 26 delegate for this meeting in October.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? So 301.
but I also wanted to just, have you take a look at the agenda for the conference. You can see, the clinic schedule for 2 days of the breakout sessions. And then there's a flyer here about outlining the keynote speaker and the topic there. We will send in registrations fairly soon, so you can check your calendar. If you can just attend one day or both days, I think it's worthwhile. And, we can carpool down together if a group is going. So let me know if you can let me know maybe within a week, maybe by early next week, so we can finalize our registration. And if you only want to go one day, please let me know which day. So I think I have to register that way.
Yeah, or even, like you could definitely go down for the afternoon, right? Go down at lunch on Thursday and catch 3 other clinics.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the keynote speaker is great, but I think the real value of this is in some of the breakout sessions that are, on a variety of topics that you can pick and choose. So,
Yeah. And they have things from, basic things like boardsmanship 101, or somewhere in there, I saw special education 101. Right, like introductory topics, and then they have like insider topics like meet the commissioner and hear what she's thinking about the issues for the coming year. And then there's all kinds of, if you're interested in this topic, here's things the district could talk about to do better.
board leadership and teamwork in challenging time. I mean, there's just all kinds of surviving controversial book challenges. Lots of districts are, facing that. Just I think lots of timely sessions.
Yep.
So that's all I wanted to say about that topic.
Okay, next up, we have staff nominations. We have co-curriculars. I would make a motion to approve the slate of co-curriculars as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
And for the record, those are Marge Ennis for OHS Governance Chair, Charity Robbins for ASA Governance Chair. At the high school, Rochelle Bone for freshman class advisor, halftime, BJ Bowden, the other halftime for freshman. Technology leader at the high school, Shauna Goodall, and tier B teaching mentor, Candy Labrie. Any discussion? We had a vote. All those in favor? Okay, 4-0. Next up, we have policies. Oh, cancellation, yes, thank you. So I would make a motion to cancel the October 4th board meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Just for the record, that conflicts with Yom Kippur, and we've determined we don't need it to get to the agenda. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Okay.
That's
And
4-0. You can just say that for Rachel.
4-0,
Yeah.
yep. And next up are policies. They look like a lot of them are really similar. Let's take the two that are different first. So policy EEBB. The policy subcommittee went over this in some detail, trying to make sure it matches the reality of what's happening on the ground and the feasibility of what's happened on the ground. I don't think that there's any actual big changes in practice, but mostly, honestly, I think we just kind of clarified the policy a little bit. We put guardian everywhere. We had parent, we put designee, or we had superintendent. And we really split the core section in the middle into two parts. One is when private vehicles are allowed. And one is what has to be done, right? So one is when can you use a private vehicle, and the other is what has to be done if you're going to use a private vehicle. But I would make a motion to adopt policy EEBB as revised as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Go ahead and vote. All those in favor, 4-0. Next up is policy BEDH, public comment. Two tweaks. One tweak was just recognizing that we have both in-person and remote comments. So that first sentence is recognizing that. The second one is, as you all know, we're informal, and unless I see a lot of people who I think want to make a public comment, I don't set a time limit on it. But we have on at least one occasion had somebody who then took advantage of that and went on for 20 minutes in a public comment. It was not a common thing, it was like 2 years ago. But it just occurred to me, it'd be good to have language that there's always an implicit time limit of 5 minutes on public comment per individual, regardless of whether I announce that the chair announces a time limit in advance. So I would make a motion to adopt policy BEDH as revised and presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor? Passes 4-0. So all of the remaining policies, which would be AC, ACAA, ACAAR, ACAB, ACAGR, and GCF have the same change. They're to bring us, they're as recommended by Drummond and Woodson to bring us back into alliance with the Human Rights Commission definition of protected categories for non-discrimination. And specifically, race has been extended. It's in some states, it's been called the Crown Act to prevent discrimination based on hair traits. And so in every single case, we just had this list of protected categories that came from the Maine Human Rights Commission. We just added this parenthetical phrase about hair traits. So I would, the board wishes we could do this all in a single motion since it's the same change. So I would make a motion to recognize and adopt as revised policies AC, ACAA, ACAA-R, ACAB, ACAB-R, and GCF. And then in all cases where there's a phrase school employee because of race, color, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, etc., to insert the parenthetical phrase, including traits associated with race involving hair texture, afro hairstyles, and protective hairstyles such as braids, twists, and locks, after the word race. Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion or questions? Okay. All those in favor? Passes 4-0. That was less painful than I thought it could be. Next up, we have a question about a lunch monitor stipend. Meredith?
Richard came to me and indicated that he feels the middle school needs an additional lunch monitor stipend. Just with everyone in the bigger, larger cafeteria this year, it's last year we were more spread out. And trying to utilize outdoor space as well. Just the size of the cafeteria now and outside space is really more than 2 monitors. Well, one monitor in himself can really handle on some days with all of the middle school eating together, which is different than the high school lunch, which is a little more smaller groups. So I support this request, and it's a second stipend in the same amount for this year for OMS. It's a $1,500 stipend.
I would make a motion to approve the creation of an additional OMS lunch monitor stipend. Is there a second?
A second.
Discussion or questions? I would just note part of this is supporting eating outside still, which spreads out the supervision. So I think it's pretty important. All those in favor? Okay, passes 4-0.
Right, thank you.
And we have the addition of 2 special ed tech 3 positions at ASA.
Yes, Lisa mentioned this in her reports. we forecast staffing needs based on enrollment that is known when we're planning for the upcoming school year. And this year, as happens sometimes, we have new students who are just change the staffing needs at the school, and that's what we found. And she mentioned the 2 spaces at ASA that we need additional staff member in each of those spaces. Even though we're down trying to hire still 1.5 ed techs, we really, need to get this approved by the board so we can just push out these advertisements, because they, today we don't have applicants, but tomorrow we could have applicants walk through the door, and we want to have your approval to be able to hire for the needs that we're seeing. So we bring this request, after having really considered and looked at the needs and earnestly feel like this is a need. Each ed tech estimate costs around $36,000. So this is a, significant ad that's unbudgeted, but we, have to be able to safely and effectively meet IEP needs and student needs. And so we bring this request to you.
I would make a motion to approve the addition of up to 2 additional special ed tech 3 positions at ASA Adams. Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion or questions? All those in favor? Passes 4-0. Subcommittee reports, policy subcommittee. You saw what we did last time. We're meeting again in a couple of weeks on the first Thursday of the month. I don't think we have any big items remaining, so it's mostly going to be back to reviewing policies. UTC, Kevin's not here. Spruce.
I have not heard of a forthcoming meeting, but I usually do by email, so I assume that'll be coming soon.
Okay. Curriculum subcommittee. I think we heard an update from Susan, but any questions or additions on that? Facilities and building. I don't think we have anything to update on the football fields. Same status. We think things are happening, but nothing's in writing to say for definitive. Would you?
Yeah, the last we heard is they needed some final feedback from the lab to be able to commit to a schedule this fall.
When do they anticipate receiving that? Do we know that?
I inquired again yesterday for an update.
Anytime.
Right, because fall is not here, so.
That was
We
what I
know.
said, yeah, in the email. So last Monday, that was the update we received, that they were waiting on the lab.
What does the lab have to do with it?
They have to have testing completed, and it kind of halts progress while you're waiting on test results to come back before they can put material in. So,
So are these test results that show what material they're deficient in?
right, they're testing to make sure they meet the specs.
There's 2 stages before they put it on. One is when they mix it.
Yeah.
Offsite, or not in the application, and then another is after they apply it. They have to take it. I forget, it's in the specs. This is why we were able to get them to have to do the work, is there were 2 tests that were supposed to have run, which they didn't. So fair enough, they're now being very sticklers about making sure they run the tests according to specs. And those involve sending something off. They have to be run through a drying oven, which takes a couple days, and it's just a question about how much time it takes for those to come back. And pretty much everything's at a standstill. Both those times are at the testing lab. So that's the.
So I may be getting ahead of myself, but do we know what the preliminary plan is? Like, are they gonna add to the top or dig up and replace?
They're gonna, well, nothing's in writing.
Right.
But current best guess is they're gonna take the top 6 inches off, including the sod. Bring in new dirt, mix it with sand and screen it, and then put that down and put new sod on top.
Yeah.
And testing as they go. Yeah, both those issues, the screening is why we have rocks so big. And the fact that they didn't mix it with the sand is why it's such a clayey, rocky, heavily gravelly substance that's settling and not, it's also draining super quick right now. It's not holding water. Sand is what holds the water. So both those things should be a good fix. Wellness committee.
Yeah, we haven't met again. A couple of things I could share though. One, after our meeting on outdoor ed last time, there's a Google Doc, a table of like all the status, opportunities, challenges of outdoor ed across the district. And we're looking for input from the building principals and other, or like any staff that can want to add to that, so we're just kind of like trying to gather information now, so that could be, if anybody has thoughts on how to get more folks to the info on it, that'd be great. Also, there was, a few of us walked around and identifying some spaces for potential outside classrooms, and there's one Meredith, I want to follow up with you about maybe a little bit. And then I guess, yeah, otherwise we're sent out a doodle poll to schedule the next meeting, so we haven't gone beyond that.
Right. The leadership team is meeting again in a few weeks after feedback to, make a final revision and pass on to the board for final approval.
October 3rd.
October 3rd, sounds right. Yep. Any other business? Any requests for future agenda items? Any public comment?
So the
Seeing,
date is wrong.
Yeah, that's
I just saw
I know.
that.
seeing no public comment, the next date is October 11th, is that right?
Not October
No,
11th. It's
18th.
2 weeks after the 4th.
It will
So
be the 18th, October 18th. So there is no, as voted, no board meeting October 4th. The next board meeting is October 8th at 6 p.m.
18th.
I'm sorry, October 18th at 6 p.m. in the high school library or on Zoom. Any requests for information or follow-up? We already have the one about list of awards, but I think that's the only one.
Could you just send that email out about what we're doing?
Oh, the dates.
Yeah, it's just I know what we're doing.
Yes, we'll do
Thank you.
that. We postponed the board professional development. Next up, we have an executive session, and that's basically the end of the board meeting. We won't be doing anything except adjourning after we come out of executive session. So I would make a motion to go into executive session under 1 MRSA 4056D labor negotiations. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of going into executive session? Passes 4-0. Those administrators who aren't sticking around to join us are welcome to head out.
So principals and Lisa, I'd asked you to stay. And then just stop recording.